Hey, hey. Hello, everybody. This is the BYOB podcast. My name is Jose Marquez, and as you can hear behind us, we're in a kind of romantic type mode right now. I'm with my beautiful, gorgeous, intelligent, hot fiance, Anna, soon to be Marquez. Say hi, baby.
Yo, that edification got her speechless.
It's the applause.
Is the applause?
I know where
It wasn't the
coming
introduction? Dang. And of course, we
amazing.
got from the Cause and Effect podcast, Mr.
Chico in the flesh. You know the vibes. Yeah, I wish. I need that. I need that.
We gotta
I need
add that
I
on.
need
We gotta
song.
add that on. Today's gonna be one of those type of podcasts that I think is just gonna encourage people to share it over and over, to hear it over and over, because if there's anything we need help with is relationships, right? So I want to kind of start off the bat by saying that we don't got it all together, right?
Nope.
We're still learning, but I do feel we've learned something of value along the way. And before we get into that, baby, if you can share somewhat your version of how we got together.
Okay.
Oh, this
I
is
thought we were
interesting.
going to agree on your version, but
Oh, so y'all got different versions in your head?
Yeah,
of
my
what
version
happened?
is like super doper.
his version is like, it has a lot of extra.
Like
in
what
it.
what I would have said.
Yeah, like it has like sound effects and it has like different visuals and stuff. Like
It's
it
the
has
edited,
like these
it's the
buttons.
edited version.
It has these
It
buttons.
has
in
so
it.
many buttons. It has more than those, though.
It has the little applause. It has the wing, wing, wing. Mine is just basic, simple. We met almost 4 years ago at work, and we just started off as, you know, friends, co-workers. We worked literally like in the same room. So after some time of being friends, and things sort of started getting a little bit more intense, a little more deeper. And at the time, I was already in a relationship. It was a long-term, about 6-7 year relationship. And I was like, you know what, like things are getting foggy. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm feeling towards him, but I'm also in a relationship. So I sort of just like ended everything. Like I just needed some time alone to just figure out what I wanted. And then he was leaving. He was leaving the building that I was working at and going to a different building because he was promoted. And then that's when I was like, you know what, like this is my small window. I gotta make my chance here. This is an opportunity. And I felt something like that he was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So then we decided to like hang out that one time for like one drink that ended up being like the longest one drink ever. And then, you know, I told him right off the bat, like, I want something serious. Like, I didn't want to just, you know, be something casual, something like a friendship. Like, if it was with him, then I wanted something to be a little bit more serious. And then we decided on serious. And then here we are, a year and a half later, engaged, gonna be married.
Round of
Yeah,
applause for that. Hey.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's been so crazy, kind of to see God's hand involved in every single step of our journey, and I definitely have to give credit to God because, you know, like she literally told me like, don't talk to me anymore. Like she made it sound really kind. Like she was like, yo, don't talk to me no more. And I was like, you don't gotta tell me twice. Like I literally did not talk to her anymore. So even that day when I was stepping out, like I went to her to shake her hand, you know, she told me not to talk to her, but let me be polite. Let me shake her hand. And I went to shake her hand. She got up, she hugged me. I was like, ooh, wait a minute. This is different. Right. Cause it had been about a year since we had last talked.
Wow.
Like that much time had kind of went by. So, you know, one thing led to another, like she shared. And again, here we are today. And one of the things that I feel that our relationship has kind of, there's been a verse in the Bible that has really jumped out at us. And I want you to share from your translation because it's just so powerful. Like it wrecked us, and we could be anywhere, and whether it's a preacher, whether it's a TV program, like somebody will mention this verse. And I'm like, this is something we're always going to have to be alert to. So I want her to share it.
And it's funny because one of the first few times that we were hanging out, like the first book you ever read me from front to back was this book, Song of Solomon. And that was like when he read that verse, he read the whole book to me. And when he read that verse, it was just like, oh man, I got to figure out what that really means. Like this is something that we got to dig deeper as a couple. And I like the Passion Translation. It says, you must catch the troubling foxes. This is Song of Solomon 2:15. It says, you must catch the troubling foxes, those sly little foxes that hinder our relationship, for they raid our budding vineyard of love to ruin what I've planted within you. Will you catch them and remove them for me? We will do it together.
And that's just so loaded, man. It's so loaded. And the reason this verse kind of sticks out to me on various levels is because I think whether it be churches, whether it be counseling, whether it be any of these other programs aimed at keeping relationships together, we tend to focus on the big stuff, right? We tend to focus on the cheating, or we tend to focus on the disrespect, or we tend to focus on, X, Y, and Z, where usually when it gets to that place, it's very hard to keep the relationship together. There's too much has gone on. There's been too much hurt, too much pain, too much word said. But if we instead can help couples to focus on the little things, right? And because it's those little things that Solomon said spoil the vine, right? It's not the big things. It's the little things that we ignore on a daily basis. Little things we don't talk about. Little things we don't mention to each other. Little things we don't confront each other on. Little things that we just continue letting, to come in again and again and again. And what ends up happening is like the wave that's crashing against the sand. And it's a little wave, but it's taking some sand with it. Then another little wave comes, it takes more sand with it. And because we never set up a bunker to that little wave, it ends up taking the whole shore away.
It literally ends up eroding the shore.
Wow.
And that's exactly what it does.
That's very eye-opening.
And that's something that has kind of really, really, really helped us. And I think that's why this video is going to be so key, because we're trying to tell relationships that it's the little things that are destroying your relationship. It's not the big things.
Can you guys give some examples of what those little things are, or what people deem little?
We got what we call the small foxes, right? And Anna did some research that I was like, babe, like you want some extra right now. And she was able to find that a girl fox or a female fox, what is it called, babe?
It's called a vixen.
A vixen. Like when you think about like that trifling female, like that female that comes with bad intentions, that's a word that's used, the vixen.
Even for music videos, they call
video vixens.
Video vixens.
Because vixens are defined as like really attractive women, but are cunning. And a female fox is called a vixen.
Wow.
So when we, right off the bat, when we're talking about being careful for some of those little foxes, like for the men out there, one of my errors in the past has been not being more careful with the vixens. And, I thank God that I went through that in my past, because I believe it's going to bless our relationship moving forward. But, we can't get tied up in what we don't have to the point that we lose out on what we do have. Right. And it's like the 80-20, the parallel principle, where you're so focused on the 20% that your person doesn't have that you don't acknowledge and kind of thank God for the 80% that she does have. And you leave her for the 20% that she doesn't have to get with this woman, not realizing she doesn't have 80% of what your current lady does have. Right. So it's like we got to pay attention to those little things, because, again, it's the little things that are destroying our relationships. And I like that you brought out, what are some examples. And I had one that we talked about, which was self-centeredness. self-centeredness. That's something that could definitely destroy a relationship, right? When it's all about me or it's all about you, it's all about my goals, it's all about her goals, it's all about what I want to do or you. And we never could get on the same page. What do you have to say on self-centeredness?
That was something that going into our relationship, it was really important for me to not do. I didn't want to be self-centered. I didn't want to have these expectations towards you that were not realistic because they just weren't. It wasn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. One of the things I learned, that something that Jose taught me was, that he had mentioned to me, was the 5 love languages. And for me, like my love language is quality time. So for me, giving him quality time, I thought was reciprocated the same way. But that's just for me. For him, it doesn't necessarily translate as love.
Because my love language is words of affirmation. So whereas she's giving me quality time was, I think, is like my fourth love language. So it's very low on the totem pole of how I receive love. Yeah. So that helped us.
And understanding like how he receives it and how I receive it, and that those could be 2 different things, was for us, like at least for me, that changed my entire outlook on how I was going to approach this relationship. So I didn't want to have that expectation like, oh, well, he doesn't, like if I don't give him enough time, then I feel like I'm not loving him. That's not necessarily true. If I don't give him words of affirmation, that's when he's not receiving that type of love. Yeah. So that was something.
Like, just tell me I look good and I'm happy.
And for me, I'm like, is that really enough?
Tell me I'm sexy.
Mine is quality time as well. So I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's huge for me, and it sometimes it's not addressed as much as it should on what you view also as quality time, or what those things look like, because some people might deem quality time just sitting next to you and not engaging. You could just be in each other's presence. Like, I appreciate that. Like, I'm one of the rare people that sometimes that we don't need to be engaged in conversation for me to appreciate you, but there's people that don't like that because they feel like, what am I sitting next to you for if you're not even paying attention to the fact that I'm here? And to me, that didn't register. I'm like, but we're here together. Like, because for me, that's fulfilling to have you in my presence, because yes, I want to work on some things, but I do want to have that connection with that person. And I feel like I can have that without having to be exchanging words sometimes,
And if we strip down even 5 love languages to like a more granular level, we even talked about different ways where we feel, where I feel appreciated in quality time. Like at the dinner table is no phones allowed. Like we've had to just have those discussions and these little things that we do.
But they cause a big change. They have a big impact.
Because if I see him, we're at a dinner table and I've prepared this meal and he's on his phone constantly, then I feel like I've wasted my time cooking for you and you don't even appreciate this space that we're sharing. But for him, it may not mean that. It may just mean like, he's busy catching up on.
He's using this time to do 2 things at once, and you would understand.
But for me, it's like a complete disrespect. Like you just slap me in the face. Why don't you?
Yeah. So it's like, since it carries so much value, although it's a little sacrifice that I need to make, it has a huge impact. So it's worth it.
But it's the little thing.
It's a little thing.
And those are stuff that we've kind of like figured out along the way. It wasn't like day one I met him and I was like, you know what, you can't have the phone at the dinner table. It's stuff that we've had to sort of go through.
So do you call those things boundaries, or what is like the term for those things that you guys start setting apart and saying, well, look, I know that in the beginning, obviously we're in the getting to know each other phase, but now we're in this stage and these things shouldn't be, or I wouldn't feel comfortable with these things, or what would you call those, or like the do's and don'ts, like what would be?
I mean, I don't think we've put a label on it, right? Like for the kids, for the purpose of this study, we put foxes, but it's just a request. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be anything crazy, because that's when I think that's another reason sometimes I think we get in trouble. Like we want to make everything mechanic and we want to make everything you have to or whatever. But at the end of the day, like when love is there, love does make sacrifices. And that's just, for me, that's a little thing. You know what I mean? But again, because she requests it of me, it's also a demand she inadvertently puts on herself. Because if I can't be on the phone, you can't be on the phone, right? So it's never been a thing. And the conversations that we have while we're eating are just like, they're dope, man. Like, and I didn't have that, So now that I do, like, I take advantage of those moments. That's when we kind of detox. That's when we kind of unload. Yeah. And for the men out there, and for the physical touch, which is one of the 5 love languages, out there too, for the physical touch people, if you do that and give that quality time, physical touch comes easy. But if you don't pay attention to her after she cooked your meal or after she sacrificed something for you, but then bedtime, you want to do the do, but you've been ignoring her the whole time.
Yeah. Or even cuddle, like,
like it's not even,
because you haven't deposited into my love tank. Now he's making these deposits. I can easily like say, hey, I'm gonna do some cuddling later.
If you guys are tuning in,
I feel loved.
There's some good stuff.
Pay attention to the guys, because this right now is facts. Like,
and it's just helpful little things. It's helpful little things. Another fox we dealt with immediately was just the past. Like, I've been in relationships where my significant other didn't ever want to mention her past. So that created this kind of wall or barrier with me knowing who you are. Because whether we admit it or not, we're a combination not only of our present circumstances, but of our past. So one of the things that we did that was such a blessing to us is, like, we never hid our past from one another. And if you know Anna and myself, like, my past is ugly. You know what I mean? Her past is kind of cute. Like, mine is just ugly, bro. But
it's ugly for me.
But having a safe place to land and knowing that I was able to share those things eliminated this fox of vulnerability. Like what it did is it allows me to be vulnerable. It eliminated the fox of shame. Like, she took the shame out the picture. She was like, no, I want to know you. And in sharing these things, we've been able to build this intimacy that goes way beyond the physical. Because I know that she loves me. I know that she loves me. Not the me I pretend to be, but all of me. Right? And I mean, I thank you for that, because that to me was just life-changing. I've always said the only person I felt loved me that way was my grandma. And when my grandmother died, like, I didn't have it in the person I was with then. I didn't have it in any of the people that I was with after that. And I don't know if of our audience, if you've experienced the loss of a loved one, it does something to you. Like, it reveals life in a whole different perspective. And all of a sudden you measure everybody in a certain way. And it wasn't until I found Nana that I found someone that I felt safe with. That I felt safe with. Because in the past, I would share little bits of my past and it was used against me. Don't ever use your significant other's past against them, because what it causes is for them to close up, to become a shell. And then all of a sudden, intimacy is gone. So her, allowing me to share my past took that burden off of me. So wow. I've tried to honor that by saying, like, this is me now.
And that's a hard process, because he was vulnerable towards me, but then I had to be vulnerable as well towards him. And sometimes these questions were hard, or I had to really think or dig down deep and like really analyze why I did things. And I'm the type of person that I'll ask 100,000 questions.
She does.
Like bullet points.
But again, it's almost like therapy without having to pay all the money. Like, and again, this is why I say, if you deal with the small foxes, you don't, if you have those very real conversations with one another, you'll avoid having to have that conversation with another.
Right.
If you have the conversations with one another early on, you'll avoid needing to have that conversation, because now you're on the verge of divorce. You'll avoid that later on. And that was a blessing to us. And, I mean, another little fox is dealing with that inner you. If you could share some of that.
The inner you. That's basically goes along the same lines of like the 5 love languages. It's just getting to know who you are. Like we've studied the Enneagram personality test, and if you guys have not done that, please go online.
What is it? What is it again?
It's called Enneagram. I'll spell it for you. ENNEAGRAM. Enneagram.
And we'll put it on the links in the YouTube link. It will put it down.
It's a personality test, and I know there's a bunch of them out there, but this is probably the best one I've ever encountered. And we've been studying this for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
And there's basically 9 different types of personalities, and we've read books and we've read like reports on, and it breaks down each different personality, and that's just getting to know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just getting to know, like, really deep down, like, who am I? Like, why do I like things? Why is it that I react in a certain scenario that way? And knowing that just helps me relate to him a little bit better, and vice versa. Knowing his personality helps me think, okay, it's not just like he's reacting out of thin air. There's a reason behind it.
Okay.
And when you understand that reason, there's a little bit more compassion. There's a little more understanding towards it. Like, I can say, okay, he's reacting this way, and I know why. And that was a God-given, like, personality that God has given him. So I'm not going to, reject it. I'm just going to try to embrace it and try to work with
channel it correctly,
right,
instead of neglecting it and making him feel like he's failing at something, right?
Because the thing is, we are who we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much change that we can actually do, especially when it's concerning our personalities. And it's sad, because again, sometimes we're attracted to who we feel the person can be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's unfair. That's unfair, because you're putting a weight on a person that is unfair, because they're who they are. If you don't like who they are, keep it moving. Keep it moving. You don't like me, so that's cool. Keep it moving, because somebody will.
Who you are too.
Yes.
And if you have to be able to relate who you are to that person.
Yes.
That person,
and the real you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if that person says, "Hey, you're not really my type," don't be offended. Like,
it's okay.
Move on to the next one. Someone who's gonna appreciate who you are. But if you don't understand who you are, like, that took me a long time to understand who I. Actually, when I read the report, I cried. Because I was like, wow.
She really did cry. Like, she's not even.
Like, I can finally, understand why it is that I'm built this way. Like, why it is that my hardwire is like this. And I can communicate it to some other people, especially to him, who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So that
was hard. Like, we're not saying any of this is easy.
Like,
this was some hard work,
That's
bro.
what I want to ask. Like, when it comes to relationships, in your perspective, I know I kind of understand what your answer would be, but for the listeners, is a relationship a matter of I like you, you like me, and we'll be good, or is that not even a tad bit of the work that a relationship needs to be able to stay together for the test of time?
That's just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I would say attraction, whether it be physical, mental, spiritual, attraction is just a seed. Mm-hmm. That's literally just a seed. You still got to water that seed. You still got to put that seed in good soil. You still got to put that seed in the sunlight. You still got to work that seed, because if the seed is just attraction and you leave it on this table, nothing's going to happen. It's going to remain a seed. So seed needs love. It needs nurturing. It needs the watering of praise, the watering of affection, the watering of nurturing. It needs the sunlight. Like, it needs to be put in the light, right? And that's what we were talking about with vulnerability. Like, if you're not able to put you in the light, and she's not able to put herself in the light so that you can see one another clearly and transparently, that relationship is not going to work, because it's based on facades. You was going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, like, we live in this culture that's, like, instantaneous. Like, we want everything to be done today. Like, if I can't post something on Instagram immediately.
It didn't happen.
I'm gonna wall out because like, why is it taking forever for my story to post?
Yeah.
So, and that's how we think like relationships are gonna be. Like, we're just gonna look at each other. Oh, this feels good. I like her. I like him, and we mesh well. Like, I just met them, and we got this good vibe. Because now we go on vibes.
It's all vibes.
It's all vibes.
Everything is vibe.
We got this good vibe, so it's gonna work out. No, like relationships are not instantaneous. Like, you actually have to put in a lot of work, and those little foxes help you do the work. And
Yes.
it's super, like, it's a process. But when you start seeing the growth in each other, forget it. You're gonna want to keep watering. You're gonna want to keep putting sunlight. You're gonna want to keep attending to your relationship.
Yes.
Like, this is gonna be our vineyard, like the verse says. And if we don't attend to it, all these little foxes are just gonna come and spoil. And I love what it says, like the budding vineyard. Like, it's just when you're about to reach that progress is when you know a little fox is coming.
Yes.
Like, we've taken like 3 steps forward in our relationship and then have to take 2 steps back, sometimes within the same day.
Yes.
But at least we can recognize it. We're not just gonna like
Brush it under the
Right.
rug.
Both are aware. It's 100% more effective than when just one person is fully aware, or one person is putting in the work to be fully aware, and the other one is kind of halfway in. Like, I get what you mean, or I get what you're saying, but not actually putting in the practice or the work. I hear that you guys both have been researching these things, both have been engaged. So that's important as well, right?
And we share these insights with one another, because, Anna brings her perspective, her life experiences. I bring my perspective and my life experiences, and together we try to mesh them. Together we try to mesh them and figure it out together, but that's the key word, together. If it's all about my point, if I'm winning every argument, the relationship's still lost. So what good is it to be a winner, but the relationship's losing? What good is it for me to say, oh no, I won every argument, I'm always right, but the relationship is just also wrong? So that's one of the things that has helped us in having these conversations. Like, we've been able to deal with this lack of vulnerability. She had a lack, I had a lack because of prior relationships. But I think we've smashed that. Like, there's things that Anna knows about me that nobody knows about me. When I say nobody knows about me, but she does. And she's helped me open up in ways that I had never opened up. And I thank God for that, because I needed that in my life. And she came and she was a godsend. But I think there's also areas of her life that she's been vulnerable. How has that helped you, babe?
I mean, that has helped me, but I think it also, most importantly, has affected us. Like, I could be vulnerable with myself, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause it's just me. But when you have to open up to somebody else, like I said, it's hard when it's happening, like when at the time. But when you see the end result and you see the fruit of what you've planted grow, like, I feel 100% different today. Like, August 31st, 2019, August 31st was completely different. Like, there is so much more that I know of you, and so much more I know of myself, and so much more I know of this relationship.
Amen.
Like, it's just a complete, and I can imagine August 2021, it's going to be completely different. In August 2022, we'll know each other a little bit more.
Yes.
It's keeping that door open. Like, I can't ever think I'm not going to be vulnerable with you. Like, that door has to remain open.
And being willing to have those difficult conversations that we've had, because there's just way too many relationships. If your conversation is superficial, don't expect a real relationship to be the product of superficial conversations. We got to have real conversations that make us uncomfortable, conversations that make us sweat a little bit, conversations that might get you a little angry, that might get you worried, that might get you curious. But we have to have those conversations. And I think we've had so many of them, You know, that there's been times that I don't want to have the convo. Like, she knows
A lot of times.
that I'm like, yo, like, I don't want to talk about it, you know, but
And I have like 1,000 questions already.
but she'll gently kind of nudge me in that direction. You know, the Bible says that the wise woman builds up her house and doesn't tear it up with her own hands. And I think, you know, I thank God that, you know, Anna's like she's the wisest woman I've ever been with in my life. And I don't mean just intellectually, you know, it's just been a product of her life and some of the things that she's learned. And her parents are amazing. May God bless them always, always. They just had their 33rd wedding anniversary. Praise God for that. You know, but you know, and another thing that we've done to eliminate the small foxes is we've tried to gain wisdom from couples that have been in it longer than us.
Yeah.
Whenever we're around the couple, we asking them like certain questions. Mm-hmm. What are some questions, babe, that we've asked certain couples?
I mean, I'd want to get like real deep questions. Like, I don't want to get like, well, what's the secret to your marriage?
Yeah.
Because everybody has their own secret. Like, because every relationship is different.
It works different.
Exactly.
They
So
find their
your
own
secret
pattern.
may not work with my secret. Like, it's just, but it's just getting to know like what are those like key, deeper type questions. You know, how do you, like when you're fighting, what's the way to de-escalate a fight? You know, like just so some of those things that like maybe practical tips, sort of things that work with other couples that we may, you know, try ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that leads us to another fox, because one of the foxes that spoil a vine is relationships outside of your relationship.
Comparing
others.
Yeah.
Others. Right? Like when you're in a relationship, there's certain friendships that have to take a back seat. There's certain friendships that can't continue being the primary friendships just because of how they think, right? Like I'm not single anymore. I can't be around my single boys that expected, you know, the females and the party lifestyle and things like that. So others are especially important to understand. Like if you want your relationship to be effective, and I truly believe like Anna's gonna see things I don't. I'm going to see things she doesn't. You know, she'll help me. Oh, babe, you got to watch it there, because I'll be oblivious to it. You know, I'm just that type of personality that I like making people happy, making people laugh, you know, having a good vibe and blah, there goes that word vibe again, right? So that's me, you know, but sometimes I can get to the point where I in my head, I'm being friendly. But what Anna's seeing is she's a female. She's gonna see that as being flirtative, like you're flirting right now. So you know, she'll check me on that, and if I see a dude like I'm bad, I'll embarrass somebody. I will. God hasn't perfected that area of my life yet. You know, so I'll let her know. But like, babe, like if you don't stop, like I'm gonna have to check him, and it's kind of your fault. You know, and not her fault in the sense that she's disrespectful, but just, again, and just being friendly and things like that.
It's sort of like the verse says, will you catch them and remove them for me? Like, we have to hold each other accountable. Like, we've already had these conversations. So when there's a moment where it comes into practice, then we have to actually work. Like, I have to tell him, like, I have to hold him accountable. He holds me accountable. That way, these little foxes don't destroy our vineyard, just don't destroy the vine.
Yes.
Yeah.
A key one that we didn't mention, because we had this talk before with a group of singles from a different ministry, and blessings to the Hub Church in Jersey City. They invited us, and it was a blessing. But one of the things we didn't mention in that talk was expectations. You know, unmet expectations will destroy a vine.
Yep.
And that's one of those little foxes we have to make sure we deal with. One of the books that we read going in is written by Gary Chapman, Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Got Married. And one of the things Chapman says, if you can't agree before marriage, what makes you think you will agree after marriage?
Yeah.
And that has to do with expectations. So we've shared our expectations with one another. Like, this is what I expect. And mine's are kind of simple. Like, mine's is like, just don't disrespect me in front of people. If you disagree with me, that's cool. That's perfectly fine. But let's talk about it afterwards. Because I just don't do good with disrespect. What was one of the expectations you shared with me? Just one.
Just one. Honesty.
Yes.
For me, like honesty and dependability. Like if you're not honest with me, then how can I rely on you? You know, like how can I depend on you? Like for me, that's really big. And thankfully, he's been honest with everything.
Amen. And part of that honesty goes with digital transparency, right? Like she has my passwords to Facebook, my password to Instagram, the passcode to get onto my phone. And it's a blessing, man, to be able to leave my phone, keep it moving, go down the block. And I'm like, I got nothing to hide. Yeah. See, but when that trust and that honesty isn't there, all of a sudden, I got to take this with me to the bathroom. I got to, when I go to sleep, it got to be under my pillow. Like there's not, that's not going to foster a good relationship. Yes.
That will spoil the vine.
Especially, you know, whether if it's a male or a female, when you see your significant other and their phone is tied to their hip and they're like, you know, they're always on the phone. Distrust is going to be the product of doing those things. You know, another thing, you know, I have a thing with thirsty pictures, right? In this age of social media and trying to get attention and try to get likes. One of the things that attracted me about Anna is that she had like 16 pictures when we met. Like she had very few pictures because she was about that inner beauty that I really saw. And being as beautiful as she is, she didn't need that attention or crave it. And for me, that was super attractive.
And that shows that the social media engagement isn't at an all-time high. Like you're not posting a picture every 5, 10, 15 minutes, you know. And
it could be so unhealthy. It could be so unhealthy. But this is what's funny because guys, they'll chase that girl. You guys be chasing that girl that they're showing all this body, but then you get with her and you want her to stop that. That's how she got you.
My relationship is not. My relationship, the one I want to grow, is not my Instagram account. My relationship is with Jose Marquez, and if I don't work on that relationship, like if I work as hard on my Instagram relationship, quote unquote, harder than with my fiance, then there's something wrong. Like I have to work harder. The best relationship has to be God, and then Jose Marquez.
I love that. Before we end, one of the things that we kind of put together was how do we keep these foxes, although they're small, how do we keep them out? Yeah. How do we keep them out of our vineyard, right? And we put together 3 little things, very, very basic, that I think could help any relationship. The first one is put a fence around your vineyard. Put a fence around it. You mentioned it before, the boundaries. Devon Franklin, in a book, The Truth About Men, he says, let's be clear. Fences aren't designed to put restrictions on our relationship. They are made to do the opposite, to establish more safety within the relationship. So fences aren't a restriction, they're protection. And we need fences, we need boundaries, we need accountability. We need that around our relationships. And when they aren't there, that this is why all these small foxes are coming in. We're inviting them in by giving them easy access.
Wide open. It's wide open.
The second one we had was take an inventory of what remains fenced in. In other words, after you put the fence, take an inventory of what's in there. Jen Sincero said, your life is your party. You get to choose how you invite people and experiences and things into it. This is your life. This is our life, right? So we have to decide who are we inviting to our party. Don't invite people to your party and then they act up, but you invited them. Yeah. You gave them the invitation, right? Right now we're in the process of inviting people to our wedding, and it's been crazy. But there's certain people that we're like, no, we're not inviting them. Why? Because they don't know us. Right.
They haven't contributed to our relationship. And if you haven't, I haven't spoken to you in Chemistry 2-3 years, then how could you be a witness to our union if you haven't even witnessed our union?
So we only invited people like that. They know us. Yeah. They know both of us. So, again, take inventory of what remains in. And lastly, number 3, nurture a healthy environment. Right? Gary Keller, in the one thing he states, extraordinary results are rarely happenstance. In other words, an extraordinary relationship, an extraordinary marriage, an extraordinary courtship, whatever stage you are in, it doesn't happen by mistake. There has to be some intentionality to your relationship, right? Because if it's by mistake, like, how many mistakes are we going to have? Like, come on. At some point, those mistakes got to be done on purpose.
Yeah.
So those are some of the small foxes that we've tried to avoid. And again, we had like a whole list, but those are like the main ones we wanted to talk about tonight. And I thank God for you. I love you. I know our marriage is going to be blessed. I love you more. This is our argument. I love you the most. This be our argument right here. But if that's our argument, then we good. You know?
That's not a bad argument to have, right?
But, you know, for our audience out there, you know, God can help you get through these things. But again, some of these things is just, it's a whole lot of common sense that we have to make practical. And a healthy relationship is at all of our reach. It's just a matter of making those small little changes. Again, focus on the little things. Forget about the big. Focus on the little things that you can do right now. And if you focus on those little things, the big things will take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, babe?
I know it sounds like super cliche, but communication really is key. Like, if you don't communicate, you know when you're not communicating, when something is off in your communication. You know, you'll try to avoid it, and you'll try to be like, no, that's something else. But you know when communication is a problem. Fix that. If you don't want to fix it, then just don't be in a relationship.
Because it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And you know, to end it with a quote that I heard one time, pay attention to the whispers before they become screams. Pay attention to the whispers before they become screams. Because usually, you know, when it's at the screaming stage, it's done.